equals the late afternoon sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement of Meridian Valley. I sat on the edge of the old bridge that arched over Silver River, the water below rippling like mercury in the fading light. The scent of warm asphalt mixed with a hint of wet earth lingered in the air, wafting from the nearby woods. I could almost hear the whispers of the trees, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze like they were sharing secrets between them. My eyes traced the surface of the water, the shimmer drawing me in deeper, and for a moment I allowed myself to forget the aching heaviness inside of me. I had a plan, a scheme so intricate and delicious that I could almost taste the satisfaction of its execution. My name is Cassandra Belrose, and I was ready to take back what was stolen from me. Cassandra, get in here, will you? My boss, Nathan, called from inside the office. I rolled my eyes and took a deep breath to steady myself. Just a little more time, I thought. I focused on my reflection in the water, the blonde strands of my hair tumbling messily around my face as if the wind had playfully tousled them. My blue eyes glinted with determination, but they also reflected the hurt I felt from the betrayal that had rocked my world just a few months ago. Images of Marissa, my former best friend, and her sneering face flashed through my mind, and the bitter taste of betrayal returned, sour and heavy on my tongue. Cassandra. Nathan yelled again, this time with frustration creeping into his voice. I stood up, reluctantly pulling my gaze away from the gleaming water. Nathan was not a bad boss. He was fair, kind even, but he had no idea of the storm brewing inside my heart, nor of the revenge that simmered just beneath my calm exterior. The office was only a short walk away, but the feelings of heaviness and tension made every step feel like a mile. As I pushed the door open, the familiar scent of coffee mingled with printer ink hit my senses like a warm blanket. I'm coming, I called, forcing a smile on my face. I had gotten really good at masking my true feelings lately. Nathan looked up from his desk as I stepped inside. His brown hair was tousled and there was a hint of dark stubble on his jawline. There you are, I thought we lost you to the abyss for a moment. He grinned and gestured toward the large stack of files on his desk. I need your help with these before the meeting with the investors tomorrow. I chuckled lightly, letting the laughter come from a place of sincerity even if it was only surface deep. You really think I would ever leave you to face the abyss alone? I walked over to him, my fingers tracing the edge of the files as I sighed. What do you want me to do? I need you to summarize these reports and highlight the key points. The investors are already nervous with all the changes we imposed this past quarter. He leaned back in his chair, his brow furrowing. I want them to believe we are still on the upward trajectory without contemplating any of the setbacks. Sure thing, boss. I sat down across from him and opened the first file, forcing my focus away from my twisted thoughts. The words blurred on the page momentarily as my mind wandered back to that fateful day, the day Marissa had taken everything from me. My heart raced and I could feel the heat crawling up my neck. Hey, are you all right? Nathan's voice broke through my reverie. I looked up, meeting his concerned gaze. Yes, sorry, just a lot on my mind. I offered him a half-hearted smile and quickly bent back to the report in front of me, willing myself to concentrate on work instead of revenge. Is it about the event tomorrow? I know it can be stressful, he said, trying to reassure me. You've worked hard for this. I know we can pull it off, especially with your excellent planning skills. Thank you, Nathan. It means a lot. His encouragement offered a temporary respite from the tumult inside me, but the thought of Marissa wormed its way back into my mind, how she had feigned friendship while stabbing me in the back. Hey, Cass, Nathan said, breaking the uneasy silence again. Are you still going to that place tonight? You know, the one we discussed. Yeah, I am, I replied, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions. I just need to clear my head. The place referred to was an old bar on the edge of town where I used to go with Marissa. It was a site of many good memories, but I needed to reclaim it as my own without her shadow hovering over me. Nathan nodded slowly, his expression laced with concern. Just be careful, you know how some of those guys can be. They have a different idea of fun, I laughed softly. Oh, come on, I can handle myself. I'm not some damsel in distress. I know, he replied smiling, but I could still see the worry etched on his face. Just don't let things spiral out of control, okay? Right, I'll be the responsible one, I said, rolling my eyes. You can count on me. My heart raced with excitement and anticipation at the thought of what I was preparing for tonight. The seeds of revenge were starting to take root, and tonight my target would be close at hand. After an hour of crunching numbers and summarizing data, I gathered my things and glanced at Nathan. I think this is good for now. I'll finish up the rest in the morning. Sounds good, Cass. Just remember to text me when you get home. Will do, I assured him and felt a sense of finality wash over us both. I left the office and stepped into the cool evening air, a comforting embrace after the stuffiness of the office. Walking to my car, my mind filled with a sense of purpose. The engine purred to life and I drove through the quiet streets of Meridian Valley, illuminated by flickering streetlights. The wind breezed through my open window, carrying the faint scent of nearby pine trees, grounding me in the moment. Arriving at the bar, I felt an unfamiliar tension knotting in my stomach. The neon sign outside flickered erratically, casting a red and blue glow over the parking lot. With a steadying breath, I stepped out of my car and entered the bar, the heavy wooden door creaking ominously as I pushed it open. The interior was dim, with the scent of stale beer and fried food hanging in the air. The wooden floor creaked beneath my feet, and the patrons at the bar momentarily turned to glance at the newcomer before resuming their conversations. I sought out a table in the corner that offered a good view and good hiding spots. The last thing I needed was to draw attention to myself. Sinking into the worn leather booth, I let the atmosphere envelop me. Laughter pierced through the low murmur of conversations, and the bartender was pouring shots with alarming speed, each clink of glasses signaling another round of reckless abandon. I could feel the adrenaline pulsing through me, an electric thrill that surged at the thought of what I planned to do. After a few moments, the server appeared, a young man with tousled hair and dimples that formed when he smiled. "What can I get you?" "Just a water for now," I replied, my eyes scanning the room. "Water? You sure this is happy hour?" He laughed. "I know, but I have to drive later." I smiled back, my heart racing. Even with my placid expression, I could see the flicker of recognition in his bright green eyes. "Fair enough, I'll get that for you," he said, heading back to the bar. I took the moment to let the anticipation course through me. The place was full of familiar faces, those I had shared drinks with, laughter and countless memories. My heart tightened in my chest. The sting of betrayal was still too fresh, even among all the noise and fun. I was here for a reason, a confrontation had to be made. My pulse quickened when I spotted Marissa seated at the bar with a group of friends, her laughter ringing like bells. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat as I watched her, determination battling with the tumult inside me. Memories came flooding back, days filled with laughter and secrets now tainted by deceit. How could she betray me so easily? My stomach churned as I watched her toss her hair over her shoulder, that infuriatingly charming smile plastered on her face. She looked so carefree, so completely unaware of the storm heading her way. Suddenly, she turned her head in my direction, and for a split second, our eyes locked. A fleeting moment of recognition passed over her face, followed by a mask of indifference. It felt as if the air had thickened between us, and my heart raced. "Cassandra," her voice rang out above the noise, an annoying sprinkle of sweetness as she leaned back in her chair. "How lovely to see you here." My mouth went dry as I picked up my glass of water and took a sip, the chill exploding against my tongue. "Ah, Marissa," I replied, forcing a smile that felt like a mask, hiding the venomous thoughts swirling beneath the surface. "I didn't know you'd have a posh celebration without me." She chuckled, a sharp, airy laugh that gripped my insides. "You missed out on all the fun," she said, glancing at her friends. "I guess some people prefer to sulk in loneliness." Those words stung more than I wanted, but I held my ground, even as my heart cramped in anger. "Loneliness looks good on some people," I shot back, my voice steady but laced with tension. Her gaze hardened, and I could feel the attention of her friends pivoting to the two of us. She leaned in closer, that sly smile never leaving her lips. "You think you're so clever, don't you? You always were a little too obsessed with scheming." "Maybe," I replied smoothly, "but I'm not the one who turned my back on a friend." Her laughter was harsher now, taunting and cutting. "Friend, that's rich. You were always too self-concerned, Cassandra. Maybe it was time for me to let go of dead weight." Something inside me snapped, and the internal storm was no longer containable. The room seemed to spin, the sounds dulling as my heart thudded against my ribs. "You took everything from me," I spat, my voice rising. Her friends exchanged glances, their brows furrowing in confusion. "Oh, please, spare me the drama. It's not my fault you couldn't keep up." With those words, it clicked. The plan unfurled in my mind like a weapon, sharp and precise. I buried the fire of anger deep down, a flicker of control igniting within me. "You know what? You're right," I said, my voice loaded with an unsettling calmness. "Maybe it is time for both of us to move on, but trust me, I won't forget what you did." A knowing smile curled upon my lips, and I turned to leave, not bothering to glance back. As I pushed through the door and into the night, the weight of my anger began to transform. I could feel it morphing into something powerful, an unquenchable thirst for revenge bubbling beneath the surface. I stood outside in the crisp air, my breath coming in sharp puffs. With every moment that passed away from that bar, the heaviness lifted, replaced by a thrilling exhilaration that rushed through my veins like a tall drink of icy water. I was not done with Marissa, no, not yet. I would show her that the cleverness she mocked was an asset, and while she savored her success, I plotted my next move. As I stared up at the star-studded sky, my heart brimming with newfound resolve, I knew one thing: revenge would soon be mine. The storm was only beginning, and I would navigate it with skill, leaving her none the wiser until it was too late. I turned on my heel and made my way to my car, the taste of revenge lingering on my lips like an intoxicating promise. I woke up the next day with the taste of bitterness still on my tongue. The sun peeked through the drapes, casting long golden beams across my bedroom floor. It felt too bright, almost mocking the dark thoughts swirling in my head. I rubbed my temples, trying to ease away the remnants of last night's confrontation with Marcus. He had always been a little too perfect in everyone's eyes, and yet under his polished surface I could see the cracks. It infuriated me that he could walk away unscathed while I felt like a shattered mirror. I slid out of bed, my feet hitting the cool wooden floor with a dull thud. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, and I snatched it up, seeing a text from Sarah. "Hey Cass, you want to grab coffee later? I could really use some girl time," I sighed. Sarah was the one person who could always pull me back from the edge. She understood how much I struggled with Marcus and his insufferable charm, but right now I felt like I needed more than just girl time, I needed an ally. I typed back, "Absolutely, I need all the caffeine today." When I used to love coffee just as much as anyone, but after the last few months of tension, the bitter brew felt like an added weight. I desperately needed that caffeine boost to keep me going. The shadows of betrayal loomed large, urging me to step up my game. "How about noon? We can hit Java Junction?" I agreed, but the gnawing feeling in my gut warned me that it wouldn't be so simple. The morning dragged on as I took a shower, letting the hot water run over me and wash away the heaviness of yesterday. I dressed quickly, slipping into a soft green sundress that clung gently to my frame, hoping it would lighten my mood or at least offer a semblance of confidence. The dress, with its delicate floral patterns, was something I had bought on a whim, intending to wear it during a much happier occasion. I glanced at myself in the mirror and forced a smile. The reflection looked back at me, but I could barely recognize myself anymore. "You got this, Cass," I whispered like an incantation. "You are stronger than this." I left my apartment, the door clicking softly behind me. The air outside felt fresh, an ethereal blend of spring and possibility. Birds chirped and the scent of blooming flowers hung heavy, yet for me it was more a reminder of what felt so out of reach. Each step echoed in my mind, a drum roll building to a climax of confrontation I was not yet ready for. Java Junction was bustling when I arrived. The aroma of roasted beans and warm pastries enveloped me, and I momentarily sank into the comfort of that familiar setting. I spotted Sarah in a corner booth, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, a stack of books sprawled across the table. "Hey girl," she called out, waving me over. Her voice cut through the noise like a silver knife, and I felt a hint of enthusiasm spark within me. "Hey, thanks for meeting me," I said as I slid into the booth across from her. "I needed this." Sarah grinned, her blue eyes twinkling as they always did. "You look great, by the way. How have you been holding up?" Interesting choice of words. Holding up is a stretch, I replied, attempting to chuckle but failing. "Let's just say I had a conversation with Marcus last night." The smile faded from her face as she leaned in, her expression turning serious. "Oh no, what happened?" I exhaled, the deep breath laden with memories. "It wasn't like anything I expected. You know how he is, always charming and so collected. But there's something else beneath all that, something rotten. I just can't figure out what it is yet." She tilted her head, her brow furrowing in concern. "What do you mean?" "I mean that he has this talent for making everyone else feel small, like they're not even on the same plane as him. Even when he's being nice, it feels like strings attached, you know?" I looked away, spotting the busy barista preparing drinks. "He has it all while I just feel lost." She nodded, scribbling something on her notepad. "What if you took charge? You could show him you're not someone to mess with, like a comeuppance." A small spark ignited in my chest at the thought. "Comeuppance, huh? You think I could?" "Of course, I mean, don't just sit there and let him steamroll over you. You can't let him have that power. You're strong and fierce. Remember that time in high school when you rallied everyone to challenge the cheer team? You stood up to them. You can do it again." "God, that feels like ages ago, but maybe you are right," I sighed. My heart rate quickened as I began to imagine the possibilities. Could I confront Marcus? Could I show everyone who I really was behind the insecurities and fears? Show him that you're better than just a shadow in his spotlight. Do something audacious, something that will make them sit up and pay attention. For once, they should see you instead of him. As I stared into Sarah's encouraging gaze, an idea began to form, burgeoning slowly but surely. "Maybe I should stage something like a prank or an event of my own," I suggested with a newfound rush of adrenaline. "Something that will not only make a statement but also give me back my power." "I love it," Sarah exclaimed, her enthusiasm spilling over. "What did you have in mind?" "I don't know yet, but I need to get creative, a way to turn the tables." She smiled, and I could see a flicker of pride in her eyes. "This is going to be amazing, Cass. You've always had a flair for the dramatic." We spent the next hour brainstorming, my initial uncertainty giving way to excitement. The cafe buzzed with chatter around us, the clinking of cups and the whir of the espresso machine fading into the background as my mind unraveled endless possibilities. I could plan something elaborate, an event that highlighted my talents, something that could draw the community's attention away from him. "What about a local art show?" Sarah suggested, her eyes wide with inspiration. "You could showcase your paintings and invite local artists. It could be your platform." My heart raced at the idea. I had always loved painting, pouring my thoughts onto a canvas, but I had kept that side of me largely hidden, stifled in favor of more tangible career paths. My days were usually filled with reports and endless spreadsheets, but what if I stepped back into that world? I could create a theme around validation and empowerment. I could make this a call to action for everyone who feels sidelined. Her smile grew even wider. "That's it. You find your voice and you invite everyone in that S felt how you felt." This was it, the spark of my comeback. As we continued to plan, laying out the details on napkins, I felt energy surging through me, running like a current beneath my skin. This was going to be my tour de force, the moment when I could rise above the shadows and prove that I was more than a reflection of Marcus's light. By the end of our coffee meeting, my heart was racing at the exciting possibilities ahead. I left Java Junction feeling lighter, invigorated, and ready to begin assembling my revenge. I knew it would take time and effort, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was reclaiming my agency. The sun had shifted in the sky, casting deeper shadows across the vibrant streets of Meridian Valley as I walked home, but they felt less foreboding now. Instead, they became canvases, waiting for my brush to make its mark. Marcus would surely be watching when I unveiled my plans. I wasn't going to be the girl in the background anymore. This time, I would take center stage and let them all watch as I transformed my pain into something beautiful and powerful. This was only the beginning of my fight for validation, one that would push me back into the light, the validation I yearned for. I could almost taste it. With each step, the scent of ambition filled my lungs. The tactile world around me faded as I focused on the journey ahead. The fight had only just begun, and I was ready for whatever came next. The rain battered against the slick pavement, each drop echoing a cold reminder of the emotions brewing within me. I stood beneath the awning of a dimly lit cafe, the warm amber glow spilling onto the street, contrasting sharply with the dark, heavy clouds swirling above. My pulse drummed in my ears as I waited for Cashin, my longtime friend, one who had unknowingly become a pawn in the game I was playing. Why am I doing this? I thought, my mind racing with conflicting emotions. Revenge can be intoxicating, but it also carries the weight of guilt like a dense fog. I could still picture the way Mark had sneered at me, that twisted smile etched forever into my memory. I shivered despite the warmth of my oversized sweater, desperately wanting to shake off the remnants of that night, the taunts and the laughter that echoed in my head. As I pushed through the cafe door, the scent of freshly baked muffins mixed with the rich aroma of coffee enveloped me. The familiar sounds of clinking cups and low conversations wrapped around me, and I took a slow breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I spotted Cashin sitting at a corner table, his dark hair tousled as he scribbled in a worn notebook, a frown etched on his face. I walked over, my feet feeling heavy with anticipation and a hint of dread. "Hey, Cass," I greeted, forcing a smile on my face as I slid into the seat across from him. His blue eyes lifted, and I could see the concern dancing in their depths. "Cassandra," he replied, his voice low, "you look different." I could tell he meant it in a good way. People always said I had a glow about me, but today that glow felt more like a flickering candle in a storm. "Different how?" I asked, crossing my arms defensively. "Like you've got something big on your mind." He leaned forward, his brow furrowing slightly. "Are you okay?" A gust of wind blew through the open door, causing a shiver to trickle down my spine. I hesitated for a moment, wondering how to approach the depths of my plan without scaring him off. "I'm fine," I insisted, though I could hear the tension creeping into my voice. "I wanted to discuss that lead you mentioned last week." His expression shifted, excitement lighting his features. "The one about Mark?" I nodded, feigning a nonchalant demeanor. "Yeah, that one." I figured it was time I finally confronted him. This was partly true. I did want closure, but closure wouldn't come without consequences, and I needed to prepare Cashin for that. Cashin's eyes narrowed slightly. "Cassandra, are you sure you want to go down that path? You know how volatile Mark can be." I swallowed hard, discomfort prickling under my skin. "I know, but I feel like I need to take control back. I can't just let him think he won." The tremor in my voice betrayed the resolve I was trying to project. I could feel Cashin's gaze studying me, not quite convinced. "It's just once you start this, there's no going back." He rubbed the back of his neck, his worry palpable. "I'm ready," I insisted, hoping to convince him, maybe even myself, that this was the right decision. "It's time for me to get my life back." "Okay," he nodded slowly, the hesitation still clear in his voice. "But you need a plan. You can't just go in there guns blazing. That's how people get hurt." A chill of adrenaline coursed through me like a wildfire igniting. The thoughts of my scheme flooded my mind again, the old photos, the connections I had made, everything leading up to this moment. "I have a plan." I leaned forward, whispering so only he could hear me. "I'm going to expose his lies. He might think he can walk all over me, but I'm not that girl anymore." The confidence in my voice momentarily silenced Cashin's concerns as he leaned back, arms crossed. "All right, I'm listening," he said, intrigued despite himself. I couldn't help but smile, feeling a flicker of energy that I hadn't felt in ages. "I've been digging around, talking to a few people who know about the illegal deals he's been making." My heart raced at the thought of revealing the truth. "I found out he has been using the charity organization as a front. Everyone thought he was making a difference, but he's pocketing the donations. It's disgusting." I tightened my jaw, feeling the anger rise within me. Cashin's mouth formed a tight line as he processed what I had just shared. "That's serious. Do you have proof?" "Yes, I secured some emails and transaction records. I just need to get my hands on the right evidence to really nail him." Cashin shook his head slightly. "I'm worried about this, Cass. You know what could happen if you're not careful." "I know, but I have to do this. It's more than just revenge at this point, it's about justice." He paused for a moment, and I watched as he considered the implications of what I was proposing. I could see turmoil in his eyes, the silent struggle between wanting to protect me and the undeniable need for action that I was presenting. "Okay," he finally said, his voice steady. "But I will help. We will do this together." Surprised, I raised my eyebrows. "You mean it?" Relief washed over me like a warm wave, and I smiled. "Of course I mean it. Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" He leaned closer, his expression serious. "Promise me you won't lose yourself in this. Revenge can be a slippery slope." I swallowed hard at his words. They echoed the fears I had deep down in the recesses of my mind. "I promise," I declared, though I wasn't quite sure if I believed myself. Just then, the bell above the cafe door jingled and the wind howled as it swung open. The atmosphere shifted, and I glanced over to see a familiar figure step inside. My heart dropped. It was Mark, his tall frame cutting a striking figure against the backdrop of the cafe. His presence sent shivers down my spine. I had hoped to avoid him, at least until I felt ready. "Speak of the devil," Cashin muttered under his breath, his brows knitting together in tension. I felt like I was frozen in place, the warmth that had filled me moments ago instantly replaced by icy dread. I glanced back at Cashin, searching for reassurance, but he was staring ahead, his eyes locked on Mark. Mark's gaze swept the cafe, and for a brief moment our eyes met. Those cold, calculating eyes regarded me with a hint of amusement. I could almost hear the silent laughter echoing between us, taunting me, daring me to confront him. "Cassandra," he greeted with that infamous smirk, as if the last few months had been nothing. I resisted the urge to cringe at the sound of my name dripping from his lips. "What are you doing here, Mark?" My voice came out sharper than I intended, and I saw Cashin tense up beside me. Just grabbing a coffee, he said flippantly as if we were old friends. What's your excuse for lurking around? I could feel my heart thudding audibly in my ears. I had to gather myself and show him that he no longer held any power over me. Not lurking, just enjoying the ambience. Right, he chuckled, leaning against the counter, demeanor relaxed as he ordered his drink. I could see the barista glancing at me, sensing the tension in the air. You still hanging out with Cashin? How noble of you. The way he sneered made my blood boil. At least I'm not using him to climb the social ladder, I shot back, surprising even myself with the ferocity in my tone. He raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence. Wow, someone's got a fire today. Is that because of the rumors going around? I could feel Cashin's cold stare on me, the tension thickening as I tried to keep my composure. What rumors? I asked, even though I knew all too well. Oh, the ones about how you lost the charity thing because you couldn't handle the pressure? He laughed, a low, mocking sound that sent a spike of pain through my chest. Shut up, Mark, Cashin interjected, stepping slightly in front of me as if to shield me from his cruel words. You have no idea what you're talking about. Mark's grin widened, amusement dancing in his eyes. Relax, Cashin, I'm just making small talk. He glanced back at me condescendingly. We all know how emotional Cassandra can get when the topics turn serious. I felt my chest tighten at his words, but I refused to back down. And we all know how you take pleasure in belittling others, Mark. Is that how you really measure your worth? He leaned closer, his breath hot against my face, a twisted smile breaking across his lips. Don't pretend you're better than me, you're just as flawed as the rest. With each taunt, I could feel the rage simmering just below the surface. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about standing against everything he represented. I turned to Cashin, my heart desperate for support, and I could sense the way he was prepared to step in if I needed him. Enough, Cashin warned, his voice steady but filled with authority. You have no right to dig through Cassandra's past to get a rise out of her. Mark straightened, taking a step back, probably for effect, but I could see the anger bubbling just beneath his cool demeanor. Fine, if she wants to have a pity party, who am I to ruin it? I glared at him, refusing to back down as I felt the echoes of old fears rising. You should know that what goes around comes around, Mark. His laughter filled the air, grim and mocking. Oh, Cassandra, always the little philosopher, but trust me, I am untouchable. Suddenly, the cafe felt much smaller, and I could hear the murmurs of the patrons around us, their eyes sliding over in curiosity. I felt exposed, yet fueled by a fire deep within me. You're only untouchable until someone decides to bring you down, Mark. One day you will face consequences for your actions. He chuckled, a low sound that grated against my nerves. Like I said, good luck with that, I'll be waiting. And without another word, he turned and sauntered out the door, the bell tinkling behind him like a song of triumph. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, my heart still racing. That was, Cashin began, but I cut him off. He thinks he can intimidate me, I said, gripping the edge of the table as the adrenaline began to fade. I won't let him. I know you won't, he reassured me, but the worry still remained in his tone. Just remember what we talked about. I nodded, though my heart felt heavy. I will, but I need to follow through now. We can't let him continue to manipulate people. I won't be a victim anymore. As the weight of my words settled between us, I realized I felt a little stronger. Maybe this was the turning point, the moment I would start to reclaim my life. But deep down, another part of me whispered doubts, the remnants of fear that I would lose myself in this pursuit. I brushed the feeling aside, forcing a smile as I met Cashin's concerned gaze. We have work to do, I said firmly, the new resolve surging within me like a tidal wave. Let's show him that the game has changed. Cashin nodded slowly, and I could see the flicker of hope in his eyes mingled with complicated emotions. You know I will stand by you, right? Of course, I replied, silently promising myself that I would navigate the complexities of this path without losing myself in the darkness. The storm outside raged on, but within this cafe, under the warm glow of the lights, the first steps toward my revenge were beginning to take shape. The hallowed light of the street lamps flickered against the chill of the night in Meridian Valley, casting long shadows through the alleys and around the corners of familiar buildings. I stood outside the old oak tree that marked the entrance to the park where everything was about to change. Deep breaths filled my lungs, the crisp air biting like small shards of ice, but there was a warmth building inside me, fiery and potent. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for ever since Jessica ruined my life 3 years ago. Minutes earlier, I had received a text from her, a simple invitation to meet at our old hangout. My fingers trembled as I held my phone, the screen glowing ominously in the darkness. Cassandra, please come, I want to talk. I read the words over and over, each repetition firing up my resolve. Did she think I would just forgive and forget? Was she genuinely remorseful, or was this just a ploy to draw me in? I shoved my phone deep into my pocket, the rough fabric of my jeans scratching against my skin. Let's do this, I whispered to myself, pushing past the steel gates that had rusted over the years and instinctually heading towards the clearing near the pond, where the moonlight spilled over the water like spilled silver. I found solace in the stillness, the wind whispering secrets through the trees, reminding me of the countless nights I spent here with Jessica, sharing our dreams and fears. What had once been a sacred space now felt charged, electric. Anger coursed through me as I recalled the day my world came crashing down. Jessica had betrayed me, and instead of facing the consequences, she had ricocheted her blame back at me, leaving me to shoulder the memories of that day alone. As I crossed the threshold of the clearing, I spotted her figure silhouetted against the bright, reflecting pond, her head bowed. Cassandra, The familiarity of her voice wrapped around me like a noose. I halted, each step feeling heavier than the last. Did she think she could simply waltz back into my life as if nothing had happened? I'm so glad you came. I noted the tremor in her voice. Was she nervous? Good, she should be. Why are we meeting, Jessica? To act as if nothing ever happened. I kept my tone steady, but inside a storm raged. The betrayal was fresh and raw, an unhealed wound that I had tended to with hatred. Listen, please, she pleaded, lifting her eyes to meet mine. They still held that same spark, but they felt different now, weighed down by something unsaid. I know what I did was wrong, I was terrified, and I made a horrible mistake. I lost everything because of you. The words exploded from my lips, sharp as broken glass. How can you stand there and ask me to forgive you? Nothing makes sense anymore. I could feel the heat radiating from my body, my fists balled at my sides, trembling with fury and the remnants of betrayal. I never meant for it to go this far, she insisted, her voice rising, the anguish clawed at her throat. I just wanted to protect myself. You have to understand I felt cornered. By what? Our friendship, the truth? I stepped closer, meeting her gaze with scorching intensity. It is so easy to point the finger, isn't it? You took the easy way out while I took the fallout. There was a bitter edge to my words, but I wasn't ready to soften the blow. Jessica took a step back as if my words had physically stung her. I had my reasons. You have no idea what I was facing. I was afraid of losing everything. I thought I could salvage some part of our friendship. I thought we could work this out. She looked down, her shoulders sagging under the weight of her own regrets. What did you expect? For me to cheer you on while you ruined my life? To stay quiet? I felt the anger surge anew. I had not just lost a friend, I had lost trust, security, and a part of my future. Do you have any idea how it felt to be on the outside, to be treated like I was nothing but collateral damage? Tears welled in her eyes, shimmering like the moonlight on the rippling pond. I can't take back what I did, but I have tried to move on to be better. I thought you might be ready to do the same. Move on, be better, I laughed bitterly. You have some nerve, Jessica. You're standing here asking for a second chance. You want to make amends, but do you truly understand the devastation you've caused? I do, she shouted, a mix of desperation and determination lacing her words. I could see now the cracks in her facade. But I can't do it alone, I need you to listen. There was a flicker of vulnerability behind her defiance, and for a moment I felt the icy grip of my anger waver, but there was no room for softness. You're right, you can't do it alone, I said contemplatively, allowing a chilling smirk to play at the corners of my lips. And that's exactly why you approached me tonight, her brow furrowed. What do you mean? I stepped back, pulling a folded piece of paper from my pocket when I had written days before. In bold, jagged handwriting, I had written my plan, the culmination of weeks of gritty determination and careful thought. I've been working on something and it's brilliant, something to not only set the record straight but also expose the truth. What truth? Jessica's voice wavered, and I reveled in the turmoil churning beneath her facade. I unfolded the paper slowly, my smile widening. All your lies, the manipulation, how you twisted my words to suit your pathetic narrative. It felt good to throw her own words back at her, the victory was sweet. Cassandra, please, she stepped forward, pleading as if approaching a predator with empty hands. You do not want to unleash whatever it is you're planning. It will end badly for both of us. And badly, I laughed, shaking my head. You really think that I care about what happens to you now? Your fear means nothing to me. Do you know how exhausting it has been to pretend everything was fine? To walk the halls knowing everyone perceived me as a villain because of your lies. You don't have to escalate this, she implored, her voice cracking. We've had enough drama, maybe we can still work together. What do you mean work together? Are you serious? I scoffed, my disbelief clear in my tone. After everything you did, you think I could possibly even consider mending this mess? No, you're not capable of gaining my trust back. Then what do you want from me? She shouted. Desperation seeped into her words, raw and palpable, and I reveled in it momentarily. I want you to experience a taste of the fear you inflicted on me. I want you to be haunted by the reality you built for yourself, just like I was. No mercy for you, Jessica. You turned your back on our friendship. I never turned my back. You have to believe me, Cassandra. I was scared. The urgency in her voice resonated through the clearing, and for once I could see through her eyes the fear of losing control, the fear of being exposed. Scared, I repeated, my voice low and menacing. You could have come to me, but you chose the coward's way out. I stepped closer again, refusing to allow any distance between us. You made your bed, and now I'll make you lie in it. Cassandra, that is not fair. Please, you have to understand, she started, panic spilling from her lips. There's so much at stake now. My life isn't perfect either. You can't do this. It can't end well for you. I'm not worried about myself, I said, my heart racing as the adrenaline surged through me. All that matters is bringing you down to earth. You stripped me of everything, so now I'll strip you of your lies and your perfect little world. Suddenly, her composure cracked, and I caught the shimmer of defiance flicker behind her eyes. So this is it then, she whispered. You'll destroy everything we once shared simply because you can. I'm not destroying it, Jessica. You already did that yourself when you chose betrayal over honesty. I'm merely delivering a taste of karma. The night seemed to grow colder, the air heavy with tension as we stared each other down, two adversaries locked in a battle of wills, a history weighing us down in bitter silence. I could feel the pulse of reality vibrating in the ground beneath my feet, and I grinned at the thought of how freedom lay just beyond the horizon. Do whatever you must, Cassandra, she finally said, her voice almost a quiet resignation. But remember, I will not go down without a fight. A revelatory thrill spread through me, invigorating and intoxicating as I realized that I liked the sound of that. Good. Because neither will I, and in that moment with the moon hanging high above us, I knew that the final act was about to unfold. The battle lines had been drawn, and I was ready for the conflict that lay ahead. The game of revenge was just beginning, and I would not lose. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a warm golden light over the treetops and glistening off the dewy grass in my parents' backyard. I stood there, cupping a hot mug of coffee between my hands, my breath visible in the chilly morning air, and watched as the sky transformed from gray to vibrant oranges and pinks. This was my favorite time of day. It felt like a promise, a new beginning. But this morning it was tied to a sense of impending closure. Today was the day I would confront my past. My heart raced with equal parts fear and excitement. It was almost time to finally unveil the truth. As I took another sip of my coffee, the rich, bitter flavor grounded me. I could see the weight of the world beginning to lift from my shoulders, even before I had acted on my plans. I set the mug down on the wooden railing of the porch where I had sat many times in my childhood and mulled over dreams. The memories flickered through my mind like photographs in a dusty album, laughter with friends, family barbecues, and the day I received the news that shattered my world. I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply and letting the familiar scents filter through me, the sweet aroma of blooming lilacs, freshly cut grass, and the crispness of the morning air. Today was all about reclaiming what had been taken from me. As I walked back into the kitchen, my heart pounding, I twisted the charm bracelet around my wrist. Each charm was a reminder of the battles I had fought, the friends who cheered me on, and the love I had lost. Glancing at the clock, I felt a surge of anxiety. I had just over an hour until I was supposed to meet Thomas, my brother's friend and a key player in the twisted game of betrayal that had turned my life upside down. My parents were still asleep, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing inside me. I rummaged through the refrigerator and pulled out the half-eaten pastry I had stashed away the night before. Eating it felt almost like ritualistic preparation, a final ounce of comfort before facing the fire. My mind wandered back to Thomas the last time I had been with him. I remembered his smirk, the way he had laughed cruelly when he told me about my brother's final moments as if it had been a joke. I had spent weeks collecting evidence against him, the late-night phone calls, the subtle hints dropped in conversations, all the breadcrumbs leading me to this moment. I wondered if he would be able to maintain that cocky demeanor when confronted with his lies. I sashayed to the living room, flipping through old photographs hanging on the walls like relics of a time that felt so distant. I traced my fingers over one of the pictures of James and me on our last family vacation, our smiles wide and carefree. The memory struck me like a bolt of lightning, how carefree we were, unaware of the storm brewing ahead. I am going to make you pay, I whispered to the photo, my voice sounding strange in the stillness. Once I heard footsteps echoing in the hallway, I knew my parents were waking up. I wasn't ready to face their concerned glances yet. Just a little longer, I murmured to myself and slipped outside again to enjoy the solitude. The air outside felt fresher, clearer. I closed my eyes for a moment, focusing on the soft sounds of nature waking up around me. The chirping birds, the rustling leaves in the gentle breeze, and the distant sound of a lawnmower starting up somewhere in the neighborhood. I resolved to focus on my plan, a mental checklist materializing before my mind's eye. First, I would confront Thomas, draw him into a conversation, and maneuver him into revealing the truth. Second, I would document everything with voice memos. Lastly, I knew I needed to alert the authorities. I could not let him walk away without facing the consequences of his actions. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, startling me from my reverie. It was a message from Thomas, and my heart raced as I read it. "Can we meet at our usual spot?" There it was, the bait. I could almost hear the cockiness dripping from his fingertips as he typed. Without second guessing, I typed back, "Absolutely, I'll be there in 30 minutes." As I stepped back into the house, my parents were now up and moving around, filled with their usual morning routines. My mother leaned against the countertop, her hair tousled and wearing an oversized sweater, while my father poured himself a cup of coffee. "Cassandra, you seem a bit off today. Everything all right?" my mother asked, her brow knitted in concern. I plastered on a smile, even though it felt stiff. "Just got a lot on my mind, Mom." "I'll be okay," I replied while glancing at them, trying to gauge how much of the truth they could handle. I hated lying to them, but revealing my situation was a gamble that could break their hearts. "Are you going out later?" my father chimed in, brushing away the morning grogginess. "You know your mother and I wanted to go hiking if you're free." I feigned excitement, trying to hide the thought of my impending meeting. "That sounds great, but I might have plans. I will let you know." The pressure of their scrutiny weighed upon me like a heavy cloak. I longed to tell them everything but didn't want to burden them with my revenge scheme. Stepping out of the house, I felt the cool breeze wrap around me, amplifying my determination as I approached my car. The drive to our usual hangout spot, the old parking lot of the abandoned shopping center, felt like a lifetime. The rumble of the engine was drowned out by my racing thoughts. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, letting my nerves simmer all the way there. What if he turned the table on me? What if he tried to bribe me into silence? I couldn't let fear control me. I had to remember why I was doing this. When I pulled into the cracked asphalt lot, the hefty silence engulfed me. I spotted Thomas leaning against his car, wearing a black leather jacket that I knew he thought made him look tough. He caught my eye and smirked, tilting his head in greeting as if we were nothing more than friends meeting for coffee instead of two people tangled in betrayal and secrets. My heart pounded, each thump echoing in my ears. "Hey, Cassandra," he said casually, as though we hadn't made a pact to be enemies without him knowing. "Thomas." I crossed my arms, trying to project a confidence I did not entirely feel. It's good to see you, we need to talk. His grin widened as he leaned against the car, casually flipping his hair back. Talk, you say that like something is wrong, what's up? You look a little tense. I took a deep breath, feeling the cold air fill my lungs as I prepared myself. I know about your involvement with James' death, and I know everything you did, I began, my voice steady but my heart hammering fiercely. He straightened, the casual facade disappearing in an instant. What are you talking about? You sound paranoid. Paranoid. I scoffed, shaking my head. I'm not paranoid, I have evidence, Thomas, phone calls, messages, it's all documented. You can deny it all you want, but I'm here to make sure you face justice. His demeanor shifted from pretense to hostility, a flicker of fear crossing his features. You think you can intimidate me with vague threats? You really don't know who I am, do you? I took a step forward, swallowing the nausea creeping into my stomach. Oh, I know exactly who you are, Thomas. I know that you were supposed to protect James, yet you turned your back on him. For a split second, I saw uncertainty in his eyes before he reasserted the cockiness. Protect him? Is that what you think I was supposed to do? The guy was a loser and you know it. I did him a favor. I couldn't believe the audacity. A favor? I shouted, the anger surging through me like electricity. You think killing him was a favor? You've crossed a line that you can never come back from. Well, make sure you pay for this. He snickered, a laugh devoid of humor. Fine, do your worst. You think a little talking can scare me? You're a joke, Cassandra, a pathetic little girl trying to play detective. With my resolve hitting a boiling point, I took a step back, my heart racing. You think this is a game? You're wrong. I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling slightly as I hit record. Say that again and I will make sure the authorities hear it from you. He squinted at me, his bravado faltering. You wouldn't dare? You don't have the guts. I steadied the phone in front of him, feeling power surge through me. I'm done being afraid, Thomas. Your manipulation ends now. I'm taking you down and there is nothing you can do to stop me. His expression twisted into something darker and for a moment I could see the monster behind the mask. You think you can intimidate me? You have no idea who you are dealing with. I have friends, powerful ones not to be messed with. I took a breath, shaking my head in disbelief. You underestimate me. Do you really think you can threaten me into silence after everything you've done? I will not stay quiet. He moved closer, but I refused to budge. You think you're doing right, but you're just digging yourself a grave. His voice dropped to a harsh whisper. You want to go down this path? You better be ready for consequences. I already know the consequences, and I am going to be the one standing in the light at the end of this, I shot back, my voice unwavering. That's adorable, he replied mockingly. But go ahead, record all you want. I can't wait to see how far your little melodrama goes. Just remember, when the dust settles, it's you who will be left alone. Then let's see how this plays out, I shot back, adrenaline pumping through me. I'm ready, Thomas. I'm ready to take you and your lies down. I felt electrified, as if every fiber in my being was vibrating with determination. Maybe it was my naive optimism or sheer stubbornness, but standing tall in the face of his threats felt like reclaiming small bits of the power he had taken from me. Threats could not bury the truth. I could already hear the distant echoes of justice calling. Thomas chuckled, this time truly amused, but I could see the anger pulsing just beneath the surface. You're a real piece of work, you know that. Do you really think someone like you can take me out? You are just a girl playing dress up in a man's world. I glared at him, pumping with adrenaline. You know what? I might just surprise you. Remember, every monster has a weakness, and I'm about to expose yours. His expression soured, similar to spoiled milk. He leaned in closer, eyes narrowing. You're dealing with a professional, Cassandra. You think you're brave, you're nothing. You're a nobody in a world filled with people who will bury you without a second thought. I felt the walls closing in, but I pushed through. Nobody, watch me become a someone, Thomas. I'm not your punching bag anymore. The moment hung in the air, charged with unresolved tension. I felt my chest heaving, not knowing whether to run or stand my ground. This was no longer a simple case of revenge. This was war. Good luck, Cassie, you'll need it, he growled before turning to leave. The sound of his footsteps faded as I stood there, recording ending, resolute in my decision. My heart pounded in my chest, ecstatic yet terrified. I watched him retreat, still angry and eager to further expose the truth. In that moment, I understood the depth of my spirit, the power of reclaiming my narrative. I wouldn't let a coward keep me from finding justice. I didn't need to be perfect or flawless. I just needed to be brave enough to stand up for myself. I was not a victim anymore. I was Cassandra Belrose, and I would rise with the dawn. The new day broke behind me, promising to bring a storm to the remains of everything Thomas had built. I gripped my phone tighter, feeling the burden shift from my shoulders to that of the past. Today was mine to reclaim.